Connor should have kept the juvie cop's gun, but he wasn't thinking. He was so freaked out at having tranked a cop with his own weapon, he just dropped it and ran, just as he dropped his backpack on the interstate so he could carry Lev. His wallet with all his money was in that pack. Now he has nothing but pocket lint. It's late now, or more accurately, early, almost dawn. He and Risa had kept moving through the woods all day as best they could, with Connor having to carry an unconscious Tithe. Once night fell, he and Risa had taken turns keeping watch while the others slept. Connor knows that Lev can't be trusted. That's why Connor tied him to the tree. But there's no reason to trust this girl who's come running out of the bus either. It's only their common goal of staying alive that binds them. The moon has left the sky now, but there's a faint glow promising a quick arrival of dawn. By now their faces would be everywhere. Have you seen these teens? Do not approach. Considered extremely dangerous. Call police immediately. Funny how Connor had wasted so much time in school trying to convince people he was dangerous. But when it come down to it, he was never sure if he was all that dangerous at all. A danger to himself, maybe. All the while, Lev watches him. At first, the boy's eyes had been lazy and his head lolling to one side. But now those eyes are sharp. Even in the dimness of the dying fire, Connor can see them. Chilly blue. Calculating. This kid is an odd bird. Connor's not quite sure what's going on Planet Lev, and not quite sure he wants to know. That bite's going to get infected if you don't take care of it, Lev says. Connor looks to the spot on his arm where Lev bit him, still puffy and red. He had tuned the pain out until Lev reminded him. I'll deal with it. Lev continues to study him. Why are you being unwound? Connor doesn't like the question for a whole lot of reasons. You mean, why was I being unwound? Because, as you can see, I'm not being unwound anymore. They will if they catch you. Connor feels like punching that smug look off the kid's face, but he restrains himself. He didn't rescue the kid just to beat him up. So what's it like, Connor asks, knowing all your life you're going to be sacrificed? He meant it as a jab, but Lev takes the question seriously. It's better than going through life without knowing your purpose. Connor's not sure if that was intentionally meant to make him squirm, as if his life has no purpose. It makes him feel like he's the one tied to a tree, not Lev. I guess it could be worse, says Connor. We could have all ended up like Humphrey Dumpty. Lev seems surprised by the mention of the name. You know that story? I thought it was only told in my neighborhood. Nah, says Connor. Kids tell it everywhere. It's made up, says Risa, having just woken up. Maybe, says Connor. But there was this one time a friend and I tried to find out about it while surfing one of the school's computers. We hit this one website that talked about it and how his parents went all psycho. Then the computer crashed. It turns out we were hit by a virus that wiped out the entire district server. Coincidence? I don't think so. Lev's taken in, but Risa, fairly disgusted, says, well, I'll never end up like Humphrey Dumpty, because you have to have parents for them to go psycho, and I don't. She stands up. Connor looks away from the dying fire to see that dawn has arrived. If we're going to keep from getting caught, then we should change direction again, Risa says. We should also think about disguising ourselves. Like how? Asks Connor. I don't know. Change our clothes first, haircuts maybe. They'll be looking for 2 boys and a girl. Maybe I can disguise myself as a boy. Connor takes a good look at her and smiles. Risa's pretty. Not in the way Ariana was pretty. In a better way. Ariana's prettiness was all about makeup and pigment injections and stuff. Risa has a natural kind of beauty. Without thinking, Connor reaches out to touch her hair and gently says, I don't think you could ever pass for a guy. Then suddenly he feels his hand tugged behind him. His whole body spins around, and she painfully wrenches his arm up the small of his back. It hurts so much he can't even say ouch. All he can say is, ah! Touch me again and your arm gets ripped off, Risa tells him. Got that? Yeah, fine. Hands off. Got it. Over at the oak tree, Lev laughs, apparently pleased to see Connor in pain. She lets him go, but his shoulder still throbs. You didn't have to do that, Connor says, trying not to show how much it still hurts. It's not like I was going to hurt you or anything. Yeah, well, now you won't for sure, says Risa, maybe sounding a bit guilty for being so harsh. Don't forget, I lived in a state home. Connor nods. He knows about Staho kids. They have to learn to take care of themselves real young, or their lives are not very pleasant. She should have realized she was a touch-me-not. Excuse me, says Lev, but we can't go anywhere if I'm tied to a tree. Still, Connor doesn't like that judgmental look in Lev's eyes. How do we know you won't run? You don't, but until you untie me, I'm a hostage, Lev says. Once I'm free, I'm a fugitive, like you. Tied up, I'm the enemy. Cut loose, I'm a friend. If you don't run, says Connor. Risa impatiently begins untying the vines. Well, unless we want to leave him here, we'll have to take that chance. Connor kneels to help, and in a few moments, Lev is free. He stands and stretches, rubbing his shoulder where the tranq bullet had hit him. Lev's eyes are still blue ice and hard for Connor to read, but he's not running. Maybe, thinks Connor, he's over the duty of being tithed. Maybe he's finally starting to see the sense of staying alive.